Hello everyone, welcome to Mastermind. Today let us learn more about environment news that happened in 2023. These are very important and please note this down. This could be asked in multiple choice questions as well as descriptive type questions as well. So first of all, let us look at some of the UNEP climate reports that were published in the year 2023. In the year 2023. So the first key report is the adaptation gap report. Please note down that all these three reports have been published by UNEP. Very important. This could be asked in multiple choice question like adaptation gap report has been published by. So adaptation gap report was published by UNEP in the year 23 for the year 2023. So according to this report, developing countries need $215 billion to $387 billion annually for climate change challenges. So this is for developing countries, not developed countries. And developing countries are faced with the need to allocate $215 billion to $387 billion annually to address extreme weather, rising seas, and other climate related challenges. And it also observed that current spending, what countries are spending as of now, is not adequate. So, current spending falls significantly short of this requirement. So this is an important bit of information or observation given in the adaptation gap report. Please note this down. You can use this particular information in essays as well. Very important. You can use this adaptation gap report observation in essays. So next major report published by UNEP is emissions gap report. So according to this, Earth is on pace to warm by 2.5 degrees centigrade to 2.9 degrees centigrade this century. So, according to Paris climate goal, we are trying to keep it limited to 1.5 to 2.0 degrees centigrade. Ideally, we should limit to 1.5 degrees centigrade. That is, by the end of this century, Earth should be warmed by only 1.5 degrees centigrade. Ideally 1.5 degrees centigrade, but it allows still 2 degrees centigrade. So, to meet the key Paris targets of limiting warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius or centigrade, global greenhouse gas emissions must be reduced by 42% by 2030. So, very important bit of information or fact. You people need to know this. So, emissions gap report has been published by UNEP and it says that global greenhouse gas emissions must be reduced by 42% by 2030 to limit warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. So very important. Please note this down. Emissions gap report. So next major report published by UNEP that speaks about climate change is production gap report. Production gap report has been published by UNEP and its partners and has observed that countries are planning to produce more than double the amount of fossil fuel that would align with limiting global warming of 1.5 degrees Celsius. So, whatever has been allocated, that particular limit has been breached, and countries are producing double the amount of fossil fuel. Double the amount of fossil fuel that are required to limit the global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. So, if X tons of fossil fuel has been allocated by the UNEP or by the Paris climate goal to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade, countries are currently producing 2x times. That means double the amount of fossil fuels. So, countries need to cut down all these fossil fuel allocations or usage to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade by end of 2100 or by the end of this century. So, what is the urgency? Immediate and substantial actions are required. If you look at all these observations, if you allow the situation to persist like this, if you allow countries to act in a similar manner, then they can't achieve the Paris climate goals. Therefore, immediate and substantial action is required. Calls for increased financial commitments. So please note down that adaptation gap report says that the current spending falls short. Therefore, there should be increased financial commitments, ambitious emission reduction targets. Production gap report observes this, and re-evaluation of fossil fuel production plants. So, if all these things are done, then the Earth will be on track to achieve the Paris climate goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Next, we'll proceed towards Kunming Montreal GBF Anniversary. So, Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework Anniversary. So GBF adoption anniversary was recently celebrated in December 2023. So anniversary was in the year 2023 because this particular framework was successfully adopted in Montreal, Canada in December 2022, where the United Nations Biodiversity Conference of Parties 15, COP15, held in Montreal, Canada on December 19, 2022, a groundbreaking agreement or framework set to guide global action on nature until 2030 was adopted, and it was named as Kunming Montreal GBF or Global Biodiversity Framework. This particular thing was chaired by China. So this COP was chaired by China and it was hosted by Canada. So China, Kunming, Montreal, Canada. So chaired by China and hosted by Canada, COP15 marked a historic moment as it witnessed the adoption of Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework on the final day of negotiations. So what are the goals of this particular GBF? To halt and reverse loss of nature. So halt and reverse the loss of nature, protect 30% of the planet, restore 30% of the degraded ecosystem, restore 30% of the degraded ecosystems by 2030. The deadline is 2030. Please note down by 2030. So it sets ambitious goals to tackle biodiversity loss, restore ecosystems, safeguard indigenous rights, and commitment to protect 30% of planet and restore 30% of degraded ecosystems. Additionally, this framework also addresses the critical issue of increasing financial support to developing countries. This has been a major problem with respect to climate financing. That is, developing countries do not have adequate financial resources to tackle the climate change. Therefore, this particular framework also addresses this critical issue of increasing financial support to developing countries and also a significant point of contention. This was a significant point of contention during the negotiations. Why this particular network or framework is required? The urgency of the situation cannot be overstated. The planet is undergoing a dangerous decline in nature due to human activities, representing the most significant loss since the era of dinosaurs. Since the era of dinosaurs, whatever the Earth is facing today is extremely perilous or dangerous. With about 10 lakh or 1 million plant species, with about 1 million plant and animal species facing the threat of extinction, many within decades, within next 10 years, it is estimated that about 10 lakh animal and plant species are going to become extinct. Therefore, under such circumstances, the adoption of Kunming Montreal GBF signals a critical step towards addressing and reversing this alarming trend. So, which two entities are supporting this framework? UNEP and UNDP. Please note down UNEP and United Nations Environment Program and United Nations Development Program support 138 countries in aligning their national biodiversity policies, targets, and monitoring frameworks with Global Biodiversity Framework of Kunming, Montreal. So, this particular thing is extremely important as it is a pivotal step towards the effective implementation and success of the agreement. UNEP and UNDP plays a pivotal role. In September 2023, UNEP, along with other partners, included National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans Accelerator Partnership. National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans Accelerator Partnership. This initiative provides essential technical support to expedite the implementation of Kunming Montreal GBF. That is, this is required to expedite the implementation of Global Biodiversity Framework. Which two initiatives? National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans Accelerator Partnership. Furthermore, UNEP conducted training sessions for officials from 50 countries last year, equipping them with the skills to utilize a data reporting tool and other processes to conserve the biodiversity. Please remember about National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans Accelerated Partnership launched last September 2023. So this is all about important environmental news in this part. Please note down all those important points as these are very, very important for examinations. Thank you.